Hello everyone, welcome back and thanks for joining if you're new. I can't believe it's already September. My tomatoes haven't had the best of season, but it also hasn't been the worst, but I've been collecting one or two at a time, and overall the harvest has been pretty good for this season despite the challenges. This here is my horseradish, and I really haven't done much to it besides making sure it's been fertilized and watered really well. You kind of set it and forget it. In my zone, you want to plant it in the fall and then harvest it again once the first freeze. So it still has a little bit of ways to go for growing, but it's nice, healthy, and green. Right next to the horseradish are the peppers, or one of my pepper beds. Same thing like the tomatoes with the peppers, in that I didn't have a lot that matured at the same time. So I've been picking a couple here, a couple there, and just putting them together for my harvest for later, deciding on what I want to do with them, which is definitely different than any previous season where I would have tons and tons of peppers all at once and then have to figure out what to do. So it was a nice break, but also I wasn't sure what to do this season as well. Another tomato that I planted, so the experiment that I tried that failed with the grafting, I did plant that Fortamino tomato, but I didn't do anything special to this tomato. It hasn't been fertilized, it hasn't had any sprays, nothing to it. And it looks better than some of my other tomatoes. But I'm going to let that one continue to do what it's doing. It's got a lot of buds on it, so I know more tomatoes are coming, and I'm going to eventually collect the seeds. Moving over to the squash and gourds. These plants were determined to grow into the other trellis from the one patch. So I covered it with soil and put some straw over it to protect it, and I'm allowing it just to grow wild at this point. I can't control it. It's September. There's been a ton of dieback on it, so you can see through this particular trellis now, whereas a couple weeks ago you couldn't see through this at all, and the leaves were nice and green. They look really beat up. A lot of them got powdery mildew on them, so I cut a lot back, but I'm going to have a lot of maintenance to do. For the other trellis, this is the last pumpkin that's going to get to the orange color. If you can see around it, the vine is dying. I can't save it. It's just dying out. So I'm going to be taking this down as well as taking this one down. These are the last two New England sugar pie pumpkins. I had a good harvest off of these. I got about 8 or 9 off of the vine. You see these bugs on your fruit, because they can be on tomatoes and squash or anything in the garden towards the end of the season. This is the leaf-footed bug, and you're going to want to get rid of them with a method of your choosing. The babies are what I'm showing here right now, and they tend to congregate in small groups, but they do damage your fruit, so you want to take care of them when you see them. Once the squash was bug free, I then took it off the vine. Since it was so large, I'm still unsure if it was preventing any other fruit from developing. I'm close to where I have to do the cutoff on the squash, so I want as many plants that can be started at the beginning of September to do so. So I took these super large fruit off and then went inside and weighed them. The first one was 8 pounds and the second one was just over 6. And that's the update in the garden this week. Thank you so much for sticking with me to the end, and until next week, thanks for watching.